So, this is a weird question, but you've loved sailing your whole life.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I mean, we went for a sail a couple of days ago. We've even got some funny pictures of it. Of you and Captain Ben and the pretty girl.
Cadavers at sea. It used to be geriatric sailing. Now it's cadavers at sea. But anyway.
But you said today, that you prefer giving satsang to sailing. That's impressive coming from you.
Yeah. So, satsang is just a joy. It's a joy. Sailing, has a component of me, is man against me, man against the sea. That type of thing. Proving oneself. It's really a very great part of what I think Nisargadatta called pravriti, or the outward moving path. Satsang, you're returning to your source. It's nivriti. And this is the stage of, this is the time for that, for this body. It's returning to source. Not that I ever left it, but that's what it looks like in a body. Not that I ever possibly could have left source.
Are there any other people who meant something to you during your process? What we would see as a process, I know it's not, but what in the duality we see?
Well, there's many people who, I just enjoyed the love that, I just love being in their presence, and some of them are spiritual teachers and some not so much teachers or spiritual either. Nobody that you'd recognize probably, or who would be famous or recognizable to your audience.
Recently I called you an Advaita man and you said, don't call me that. Now, could you explain what a quote Advaita man is and why you don't want to be called that?
Well, I don't know what an Advaita man is, but I know I know that the words are a label, and they have to do with a distinction, and I'm not any kind of a man. It's the whole masculine identity is something that I really, and I think all young men of my generation and possibly yours, there were some issues with it. So it goes all the way back to the whole thing about why do men go to war? And the answer is that the women are watching. And it's not that women like war, they don't for the most part, but it's men thinking that they're not men unless they do their part in whatever the madness the society finds itself in. And this whole thing about being labeled in a certain way and thus limited, to what that label defines, is something that I'm not really, I think we can transcend all of that.
Okay, so you just said that you don't like labels.
Right.
And you don't want to be labeled an Advaita man or anything else, but...
Well, I just don't think it's useful. I'm not, it's just not useful in a way, and it's limiting. But when I label myself, or I buy into a label of myself, guess what? Inquiry stops, because I've bought the label of who I am. I don't need to look any further.
However,
what a person doesn't, once they've defined themselves and say, this is me, I'm cutting out this little slice of the world, and this part's me, and the rest of it is, something to be used. To me, that labeling is the first part of the process. It's kind of like taking the familiar sensations that we have in our body and labeling them as particular feelings like hate, love, anger. That's the first word in the story, and the label is the first word in the story that I'm about to tell that's going to be an argument for a limited me.
So, okay, given that, what do I put on a DVD cover about you or announcement about you?
Knock yourself out.
That makes it really rough.
You know, when you do the announcements for the satsangs, we're about to go on a satsang tour as this is being recorded. You're going to say something about me, and people are going to be interested in seeing something that's other than what they're familiar with, and thus, you know, obviously other than them. So it's part of the play. It's part of the dance of samsara. But to label me in such a way, you know, I don't think you have to be adamant about attaching the label. In other words, I'm not asking you to nail a sign to my forehead that says Advaita man. You know, and when you do a double label, you know, the man, you know, and then, you know, that's kind of obvious, you know, as far as the sexuality of this body, you know, what it is. It's a man's body, a manly body, or whatever.
Be a hell of an ugly woman.
Right. Yeah, I don't think cross-dressing's for me. And then say, okay, you're a man first of all, and then primarily and secondarily you're a non-dual man. You know, to me it's almost like an oxymoron. Well, if I'm non-dual, then how come we're calling me a man? I'm maybe an Advaita, a person, you know, a person, but not just a man. It's just double limitation. You understand what I'm saying? There's a double limitation there. And really, I'm not, you know, everything that I take myself to be, if you know, using neti or not this, not that on it, I'm none of it. You know, I'm prior to all of this appearance. But I think a person has to see that for themselves and not just believe it, you know, without having done a very rigorous investigation for themselves as to who one is, or what one is. Out of where am I arising? What am I right here, right now? And whither am I? Where's all this headed? You know, those are time-bound questions. You take time out of the question, and who am I is really the only question. Right now, this moment, here, who am I?